Did you know that there are only 4 ways to make money, not 40, not 400, just 4? Most of us are probably familiar with Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But what most people don't know is that Robert Kiyosaki actually wrote the second part of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which he called Cashflow Quadrant. And it breaks down the 4 different types of income, how they work, and why this is the reason why the rich keep getting richer. Each of these categories is comprised of 3 components: mindset, cash flow, and taxes. First, we have the E quadrant. E stands for employee, and this is where most people start. The mindset of a person in the E quadrant focuses on income security and employer benefits, such as a retirement account, health insurance, and a fixed salary. People in the E quadrant make money by working for a company or government and exchanging their time for a predetermined amount of money, whether salary or hourly. People in this category can still earn large amounts of money, such as a doctor, lawyer, or executive, but the limitations in this quadrant make it difficult to build wealth solely in this category. A person in this category can only rely on themselves to produce money, and there are only a few ways to increase their income, usually by going back to school and finding a better paying job. And then we have taxes. In this category, taxes are very straightforward. An employee works, taxes are deducted, and only after taxes are deducted does the employee receive their money. There is very little someone in this category can do to reduce their taxes. The most someone can do in this category is defer some of their taxes for later, such as when someone puts money into a retirement account, like a 401(k) or a traditional IRA. For those earning more in this category, their tax liability can reach 40% or more of their income. The S quadrant stands for self-employed or small business owner. This happens when someone decides to try entrepreneurship and create income independently. The mindset of the S quadrant is to regain control and have the freedom to pursue a higher level of compensation than they would have working a job, so they decide to become entrepreneurs. The key word for the S quadrant is independence. The way money is earned in this category still involves exchanging time for money, but instead of exchanging time for a fixed amount of money, the self-employed exchange time for a chance at profit. People in this category take on a higher level of risk than those in the first category because in this category, there is no guarantee that they will make money. It all depends on their ability to sell their product and fulfill their promise. Taxes in this category have a bit more flexibility since people in this quadrant can deduct expenses related to their work as tax deductions. But people in this category still need to pay income tax, state tax, and local tax, if applicable. However, the self-employed end up paying more taxes than in the first category, and Medicare and Social Security taxes, as when someone is an employee in a company, that tax is split between the employer and the employee, each paying half. But when someone is self-employed, they act as both the employer and the employee, which means they carry both sides of this tax responsibility. The B quadrant signifies big business. In this category, the rules of the game are a bit different from the previous 2, creating an environment where exponential growth and wealth become more attainable. The mindset of a person in the B quadrant is to use leverage to exponentially grow their income. People in this category seek to maximize the results of a business, so they look for others who can effectively manage parts of their business so they can focus on growth and expansion. Unlike the self-employed, the day-to-day operations of the business are no longer part of the B quadrant agenda. Instead, daily tasks are handled by a system or another person. At a basic level, the way large businesses make money is similar to that of someone in the S quadrant. They must be able to sell a product or service and fulfill their promise, but the goal is to do so on a large scale. In this category, the entrepreneur is no longer exchanging time for money or profit. Here, the entrepreneur's time is used to create a system that can effectively manage the time and resources of others to maximize cash flow for the company and its investors. And this system needs to work independently of the entrepreneur. This makes the business a cash flow asset. Once a business becomes an asset, many owners decide to keep it and hire someone else to manage it, take the company public and sell shares to other investors, or simply sell the entire business. As businesses that operate independently and produce consistent revenue are very attractive assets to larger investors. Taxes also work very differently in the B quadrant compared to the previous two categories. First, corporations have a maximum tax rate of 21%, and the owners of these companies often choose to pay themselves the majority of their profits in dividends rather than a large salary because dividends are taxed at a maximum rate of 20%, while salaries are taxed up to 37%, not including state, local, and social security taxes. Companies also have the ability to relocate to take advantage of more favorable tax laws. Tax losses in this category also make debt a sort of asset. Companies can use debt to spend more money on growing their businesses than they actually earn in profits, leaving their taxable profit at zero or even reporting a loss, which can then be offset to reduce future tax bills. Companies can also take advantage of deductions and credits available only to businesses and institutions. This is where companies can be truly creative, as there are many tax credits that businesses can benefit from. The I quadrant stands for investor. This quadrant is where money turns into wealth. The great thing about this quadrant is that, regardless of which quadrant you are in, anyone can become an investor and take advantage of everything this quadrant has to offer. But the entry cost to become an investor is capital. Some people use their jobs to earn income, save, and use it to become investors. Others may have other creative ways of obtaining capital or work together with someone who has the capital. The mindset of the I quadrant is to unlink time from money and acquire assets that provide income without needing the investor's time. In many cases, the investor still uses some of their time to manage their investments and make decisions, but the person's time is no longer needed for income production. People can become wealthy in the B quadrant, but they can only achieve long-term wealth by becoming effective in the I quadrant. There are three fundamental wealth builders that investors pursue. The first is cash flow, which is the income that assets provide to the investor, either through ownership in revenue-generating companies or real estate properties that generate rental income. The second is appreciation, which is the growth and increase in value that an asset has over time, in addition to cash flow. You want your assets to be worth more tomorrow than today, which not only provides incremental wealth, but also leverage to operate in the I quadrant. And the third is taxes. The I quadrant has many tax benefits that the other quadrants simply do not have. One of these benefits is the ability of investors to increase their wealth to virtually tax-free levels. One of the most talked about examples of this is done through real estate investments. In the real estate world, there is something called a 1031 exchange, which allows investors to sell an asset at a profit and defer their taxes to use the money to buy more properties. Typically, taxes are deferred until the next asset is sold. But many investors continue to use this strategy and keep reinvesting their profits from one asset to the next without paying taxes. This allows investors to increase their wealth virtually tax-free. Many investors who do not want to sell their assets can simply borrow against them and use these assets as collateral to buy more assets, allowing them to control even more wealth. As Robert Kiyosaki says, the I quadrant is like an amusement park for wealthy people, and as important as it is to know the benefits of becoming an investor, learning how to invest is what truly makes someone rich. This video will show you how you can become an effective investor. And as always, thank you for watching and see you in the next video.